My husband was hesitant to be intimate with me after my accident.
We got to be careful here.
I, 30 female, have been married to my husband, 45 male, for 5 years and together for 8. Obviously, we have an age gap in our relationship, and whenever we discussed possible health issues or medical care, it was regarding him. By the way, this comes from user Flora Ray, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Riley.
And I'm Keon.
We try to give our best advice, but we haven't experienced all of these situations ourselves. So if you have, let us know your take in the comments. About 4 months ago, I was in a car accident. I was talking on Bluetooth to my husband because I was nervous driving on the icy roads going to our house when another car rounded a corner too fast and lost control. It was one of those exact wrong moment things, and my car went off the road into a tree. My husband heard the whole thing, and my last memory before I lost consciousness was him screaming my name. I don't want to get into the bloody details, but I ended up being in the hospital for over a month. I needed multiple surgeries and have been in physical therapy ever since. I'm finally getting to a point where I feel like myself again, and I'm no longer in pain. I've gained back some weight and look good, if I do say so myself. My husband literally worked out of my hospital room for the entire time I was there. He went home to shower, sleep, and look after the dogs, and then came right back. He attended all of my therapy appointments so he would know how to better help me recover at home. He was amazing and everything I could ask him to be in that kind of horrible situation. I love him so much. And so yesterday, while shopping, I saw this gorgeous black lingerie set and decided to surprise him with it. We haven't had spicy sleep since before the accident, and every time I try, it feels like he makes an excuse or expresses some concern about some random body part of mine that is no longer injured. He was on his laptop in bed when I came in wearing my new purchases, and I could tell he was taken by surprise. I basically crawled into his lap and started giving him some smooches. He was definitely into it, but then he lost it, pushed me away, saying we shouldn't rush this, and didn't want to jeopardize my recovery with spicy sleep. I was crying by the time he ended the sentence and said, "I'm fine. The doctors say spicy sleep is fine," but he was already walking into the bathroom and turning on the shower. I don't know what to think. Is it the scars, the memory of me in a hospital bed, unable to even sit up by myself? Does that repulse him? I finally am starting to feel good about myself and my body again, and the fact that he won't touch me is really hurting my mental health. Probably a long shot, but has anyone else experienced this? And we have a comment from OP. I think I realize that just because I physically feel better, it doesn't mean our lives can magically go back to normal, which was basically what I was trying to do. We both went through a major trauma, and pretending it didn't happen will only be damaging to both of us. Can't say how much I love this man. He is my whole world, and the thought that he's been hurting but trying to protect me from it by staying silent makes me feel sick. The bottom line is we both need to go to therapy to unpack everything that happened and develop some healthy coping mechanisms. Another part of this was we were trying for a baby before the accident, and I was excited to get back to it. And there are some comments here. Magic Connie Hand said, "I'm not a mind reader, but his reaction makes a lot of sense to me when I think about the last 4 months from his perspective. He heard you scream and then nothing from you. Presumably, he heard the crushing metal of the crash. For him, there was a period of time where he did not know if you were going to make it. Maybe he had to direct first responders to try to find you and had to learn whether you were alive from them. The fact that you were in the hospital for more than a month says to me that he was almost certainly told you might pass away even once he learned you were alive. The fact that he lived in your hospital room was probably as much for him as for you, because if he wasn't there and something happened, you might pass away and he wouldn't be able to stop it. It's very possible he spent that entire month in crushing fear, trying to consciously or subconsciously guard you from passing away. He almost certainly spent at least several days in that state. I'm assuming that the focus since then has been mostly on getting you physically okay. It's only been 4 months, and he's probably spent them all in caretaker mode. The thing about caretaker mode is that you push your own issues to the back. You don't focus on any healing you might need to do. Note that I'm not justifying that necessarily. Sometimes people go into caretaker mode or stay in it not because somebody actually needs care, but because our own fear is too scary to face, and that mode keeps us from having to deal with it in the short term. For him, the trauma of being unsure if he would still have you tomorrow is still almost certainly unhealed. As for why he responded that way, People tend to store emotional pain they're not addressing yet in the body. Tight muscles, strained postures, clenching. People grind their teeth and bunch their fists under stress for a reason, and we do similar things to the rest of our body. That kind of trauma can feel like a physical spring stored under tension. When you went to initiate intimacy and started touching his body in a way that normally creates a strong reaction, you added those feelings on top of the stored feeling, but pulling in a different direction, and the spring destabilized and went off. You basically accidentally took the lid off a pressure cooker before it had a chance to vent. I think that's why his response was centered around fear for your safety, even though you're feeling much better and not worried about yourself.
I see where you're coming from. Hopefully, I don't know, is this person blaming her for it?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it's just an explanation of what happened.
Of what's going on, yeah. So it's really great.
All that trapped fear just kind of blew up in both your faces. That's what happened. It's not necessarily anything in your relationship that needs to heal. It's just that he needs to step back now and take the time to face that crap. I'd strongly recommend therapy to help him process. I also, on a personal level, find that crying tends to let some of that tension back out. I tend to use a Pixar movie to get the tears going. Sounds a little silly, but it helps. And there's an update 7 days later.
Really good the way this commenter described the clenching of hands. I think if we think of that with the body, within our
Body's
emotions,
clenched up.
Clenched up. It's like bracing for impact, bracing for the worst news ever. And it's hard to relax those tense muscles.
I want to bang, but what if you just cease to exist? Thank you again for everyone's kind and thoughtful comments. I read all of them, even if I didn't respond. Last night when we got in bed, I curled up next to my husband and held him while I said, basically, we've been through a lot. Would you be willing to get therapy with me to make sure everything is all right for both of us? I love you so much, and I don't want any underlying trauma to affect our relationship. He was silent for about 10 seconds, and then the floodgates open. I've only seen him cry once or twice in our entire relationship. Once at our wedding, and the first time I told him I loved him. But I held him while he sobbed for what was probably an hour. He kept apologizing for it, and I had to keep saying, don't be sorry. I'm here, cry if you need to cry, and I shed some tears of my own. It was an exhausting but ultimately extremely cathartic experience. When it was all over and he was able to say more than a few words, he told me that there was about 15 minutes when he was sure he had just heard the love of his life pass away. Then we get to the hospital and the doctors made it clear they would do everything they could, but the extent of my injuries were extreme and severe. Then he spent hours calling family members, waiting, pacing, and trying to grapple with the fact that I might be gone and he might be alone. Then I spent 5 days in the ICU, mostly unconscious. He said he's never known fear like that in his entire life. In the end, we agreed to go to individual and couples therapy and even touched on the spicy sleep thing, wherein he admitted that he knows objectively nothing bad will happen to me if we have spicy sleep, but for some reason, it's sparking the protective instinct that makes him want to treat me like glass. So we're working on it. And our marriage is amazing. He's the love of my life, and we can get through this. Update 2, 21 days later. Hi, everyone. First, I want to say I was absolutely blown away by the outpouring of love and support I received on my first post. I never could have imagined it would blow up like that, and I received so many thoughtful and kind comments and messages from strangers. That being said, when I wrote that, I was in a weird place. Physically, I had mostly healed, but I was determined to shove down any emotional trauma because I was so exhausted from the previous months trying to work to heal my body. I wanted to be all right, and I wanted my marriage to be the same as it was before the accident. And by the way, it's the same as it ever was. You can listen to full episodes with stories like this on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Wherever you're listening to podcasts, just search OK Storytime. My husband and I just attended our third marriage counseling appointment, and I'm very happy to report the exercises and worksheets we've been given are helping rebuild the husband-wife relationship we had instead of the caregiver-patient relationship which has been present for the last 5 months. My husband has just had his first individual therapy appointment a few days ago, and I have mine next week. In short, we're putting in the work. We're also having spicy sleep again. Like a lot. I feel silly.
What's a lot these days?
Once a month. I feel silly bragging about that to the internet at large, but it makes me so happy that we figured it out. That part of all this is figured out. We did it. We're boning. We're banging. Bumping the uglies. We're knocking the boots.
We're laying pipe.
We're doing the horizontal mambo.
We're doing the devil's tango.
Prior to the accident, and really throughout our whole relationship, we've been so ridiculously into each other. It was rare we even skipped a day. I missed having that connection to him, and He was clearly hurting too. Anyways, I just thought everyone deserved an update.
Yay!
And that is the end of that story.
You're happy! My husband secretly blew through our savings.
Well, you should have read the fine print.
My husband is 26 and I am 27. We've been married for almost 2 years, and tonight we had the worst fight we have ever had. I'm seriously considering spending some time apart because I feel completely betrayed. By the way, this comes from Apprehensive Ear 34. If you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Riley.
I'm Dakota.
And I'm Keon.
And we'll try to give our best advice, but we haven't experienced most of these situations ourselves. So if you have, let us know your take in the comments. We have always been financially responsible. We paid for our weddings ourselves, bought and renovated our homes 4 years ago, and have never really struggled with money. One of the reasons we have done so well is because we committed to savings. When we were aggressively saving for our wedding and home, we put away 30% of every paycheck. After the wedding, we agreed to save 20% of our income to build an emergency fund and plan for the future. I've held my end of that commitment. When my husband's car malfunctioned unexpectedly, I covered the cost of a new one without taking on a car payment. When our HVAC unit failed, I paid for that too. Despite these big purchases, I've still managed to keep up my savings. Tonight, I found out my husband has saved nothing. Our system has always been that his steady paycheck covers our monthly bills, while mine, freelance income, covers larger expenses like student loans and emergencies. It seemed to be working until now. When I have asked why he had not saved anything, he said he did not have the money because he was always paying off the credit card, which he only uses. But going through our budget, he should have at least $3,000 left over every month. When I asked where that money was going, he had no answer. So I checked his statements. Nothing alarming like gambling or cheating, but just reckless and mindless spending. Expensive tech, eating out constantly, ordering lunch at work every day, that'll add up. Spotting his siblings' money for things, impulse purchases, Costco trips that somehow add up to absurd amounts, and just random things that drain everything. It was not one big expense, just a constant stream of unnecessary spending. This is not the first time we have had an issue with his spending. Almost a year ago, we had a serious conversation where I made it very clear that he needed to stick to our financial plan. Not only did he break that promise, but he has almost spent more than he has earned and even dipped into our savings. What hurts the most is that we have always talked about our future and where we see ourselves in 5 or 10 years. He has been the one pushing to start for trying for a baby. I was on the fence, but recently decided I was ready until tonight when I realized he has no savings. Now our timeline for having kids is delayed. Our plan to move out of a town we both hate is out of the window. I feel completely blindsided. He has made multiple promises that he has not kept. And when I asked him what his plan was, he said he would put half of his yearly bonus into savings. We had already agreed that the bonus would go towards paying off his massive student loans. At this point, I do not just feel disappointed. I feel disrespected. I do not understand why he hid this from me or why he thought I would not notice. I have lost so much trust in him, and I do not know how to move forward. Would taking time apart be an overreaction? Can trust even be rebuilt after something like this? I am at a complete loss. We have some comments. Anyone's got any remedies to how to fix this?
My immediate gut check would be y'all need to just have a joint account, but he can't withdraw from it.
Contribute to it, yeah.
Yeah,
We've
and
heard some stuff about that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't say take a break from it.
I have a really good analogy. Okay, so my roommate, Alex, he had a roommate before that would never clean his dishes. And he found out that if he leaves less dishes out, then he would have to clean up less dishes. So in this case, if you have a joint account and you give him kind of an allowance, he's only going to spend what he has. But if you give him access to more stuff, he's just going to spend that. So I think it's okay to spend money on stuff. It's just you have to limit what he can spend money on. And I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's anything else alarming here.
I think it would be, it should always come from when you're in like a marriage or relationship like that and something like this is happening. It's like, I have it come from a place of love, just being like, this is just because we want to build up our future and I see a future with you and I see a future together. And it's like, this is really important for things to go well that we do this and we stick to this.
Yeah.
And it might be hard for you to stick to it. That's fine. I still love you. Let me help you.
It's hard to respond given that you haven't said what he's been blowing thousands on every month without that being noticeable to you. Something is weird about this story. Obi says, honestly, it doesn't completely make sense to me either. When I went through the statements, it was just a ton of random purchases, tech, eating out, ordering lunch for work almost every day, spotting his siblings for money, impulse buys, Costco trips that added up way more than I realized, and just general mindless spending. Nothing huge on its own, but over time, it drained everything. I trust that he was sticking to our agreement, so I wasn't monitoring it closely, which is why it all hit me so hard. We have an update. First off, my husband is not some reckless mooch, and this is not a case of me supporting him while he blows through money. He actually covers most of our monthly bills, while I handle the bigger but less frequent expenses like quarterly and annual payments. That setup works for us since my income is not the same every month. He's also an incredibly generous person. He loves picking up the tab for friends, buying gifts just to make people smile, and always putting others first. That generosity is one of the things I love most about him. But when you are not keeping track, it adds up fast. And for those assuming I do not make real money because I run my own business and do freelance work, this is my first year going full-time instead of working a 9 to 5 and then grinding on my business at night. I would not have had the courage to do that without him, and I never would have made the leap if I did not have a partner with a steady paycheck, even though my business has been doing really well. And guess whose business that is, Redditors? Hers and her husband's.
It's their business.
It makes me so mad when people are like, he's paying for everything, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, that's on them. That said, I know I have failed as a partner too. He was not upfront with me when he started struggling to pay off his credit cards. And while he absolutely should have told me, I should have checked in more. I thought he was spending the way he was because he was still able to while keeping up with our savings. Instead, he was dipping into our savings to cover his credit card. And instead of telling me, he tried to handle it himself. He knows that that's not okay. But I also need to make sure he feels comfortable coming to me before things get to this point again. To clear up a few things, no, he's not trying to trap me with a baby. We both want kids. It's just about timing. No, I am not unemployed. I run a successful business and do freelance work too. Just because I do not get paid on a bi-weekly schedule does not mean I do not make good money. Yes, small purchases add up. Lunches out, spotting friends, video games, gifts for family, random Amazon orders. It all snowballed into $3,000 a month before he even realized what was happening. And you better get your stuff together and realize that we have more stories just like this on your favorite podcast platform. Search up OK Storytime on Apple, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. Do it right now.
That's right. That's right.
Keon Dakota.
$3,000 is a month is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta
mean,
know what you're
yeah.
spending. I really want to know what you're spending it on.
Yeah. I'll be honest, a little transparency. I had a little bit of money saved up for doing, like, I paid off my car recently,
Yeah.
paid off my credit card stuff and some other things. I saved some money, and I've decided to put a little bit away for future savings. And then, you know, I really want to keep my expenses under like X amount so I can pay off other stuff. But it's tough. It's really tough because it's like, I want a standing desk. Oh, I got to buy my girlfriend something for her birthday coming up. Oh, I got a party coming up. It's just really hard, but you have to. I would like it if Angie handled my money and then she's like, here's $300 for the week. Great.
Yeah.
I only have $300 to
that's
my
how
name
they do
this
it in
week.
Japan.
That's what my grandma and grandpa does.
Yeah.
My grandpa does not see any of his paycheck. He just has cash from his bonuses, and he just lives life that way.
Not an expert in the financial budgeting, planning, scheming. I would probably be this guy. If I was this guy and my wife came to me and was like, let me help you, I'd be like, thank you. If I'm dipping into the savings to try to cover my credit card because I know I look bad, I'd be like, I'm so glad you found out because I've been so stressed out.
Yeah.
Can you please just help me?
Please help me.
Not be this way. And that's what, you know, being a team is all about.
We got a little bit left here, guys. Moving forward, we agreed to close most of his credit cards, put his full paycheck into our joint account instead of just half, so we both have visibility on spending, and stick to a firm budget that still gives him personal spending money. We have not decided yet if we would fully merge everything, but we're going to be a lot more open and accountable with each other. At the end of the day, this is not a deal breaker for me. I love my husband, and I know he loves me. We both want this to work, and we are both putting in the effort to make sure it does. Thanks to everyone who gave helpful advice. Hopefully, this is the last time we ever have this fight. I like these parameters put in place. This is
I
healthy.
do. I think that was the right move. I don't think it needed any more of a response than that, or
Yeah.
any more of a, did not warrant an extreme response.
Yeah, agreed.
I think if it was like, you know, he's taking out like a reverse mortgage and like, you know, signing
Gambling.
your name on like, you know, credit cards and like taking credit lines in your name and like, yeah, like gambling, that's when it's like, okay, this is actually like, this is extreme. So I'm going to step away because I need time to process what I have just learned about you. But, you know, again, I think we did it. I think that was the right move.
That was the right move.
My ex-wife cheated on me, so I'm moving on with my life.
Time to move on.
My ex-wife and I had a 2-year relationship. We had our son before we married, and I tried really hard to be a good husband and father. Starting as an introvert meant that I really had to start from scratch, but I can honestly say I did my best to learn. And by the way, this comes from user Looking to Survive. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Riley.
And I'm Keon.
And we're going to try to give our best advice, but we have not experienced most of these situations ourselves. So if you have, let us know what you would do down in the comments. My ex and I were total opposites. Maybe opposites attracted in the beginning, but then we started to butt heads a lot, like a couple of goats.
Uh-oh.
Like a couple of billy goats. My ex-wife, I learned, hated to compromise and would use bullying and gaslighting tactics to get her way. She was a spender and wanted to splurge on things because she thought she deserved it. Looking back, she wasn't really a good mom or wife. She was very self-centered and spent more time on her phone than with me or our son. I took care of everything, including my son's hospital visits, and she didn't want any more responsibility. Meanwhile, I was being burnt out from all of the work. The last straw was when she cheated on me with her ex.
Oh!
Both of us knew that infidelity was a deal breaker. As soon as I learned, I knew I needed to leave or risk starting a fight. So I carefully planned my exit. I found a house to rent 2 hours away, removed myself from the apartment lease and utilities, removed myself from the joint account, and moved while my wife went for some facial therapy. Before I left, I gave her divorce papers with copies of evidence that I also sent to her family members exactly at the same time the moving company and I left. Baller. I blocked her on everything. I left everything in 6 hours. After I moved into my new place, I was bombarded by texts and calls from her family. Most were apologies. Her cousins admitted they saw this coming. Her mom apologized a lot, saying she didn't raise her daughter well. Both her mom and aunt begged me to reconsider the divorce. Then came messages of threats and insults from my ex, using different numbers. I just kept blocking her, but it got so bad that I got a new phone. The divorce was rough because of my ex. She tried to say I kidnapped my son and even sued me, but I presented all of the facts. I was the one solely responsible for everything at home and for my son's health, speech therapy, and more. The judge was understanding and dismissed her claim. I also presented evidence of her infidelity, including her reckless spending. I even got the affair partner to confess.
Oh, dude, what are you? How are you doing this?
Dude, OP Sherlock Holmes? OP is Batman?
You better go to Vegas right now and bet on whatever color you think you should bet on.
Yeah, or I don't know. I hear Baccarat is the most 50-50 game you can play in a casino. The affair partner still lived with his parents, and I threatened to sue him for alienation of affection unless he confessed. It was a long shot, but he caved. Because of all the evidence, I kept almost all of my money. I just had to pay my ex a little bit of alimony for a year since she had quit her job. In custody, I was awarded primary custody, with my ex getting supervised visitation. She made it worse for herself because of the threatening messages she sent me. It didn't help her that I now lived 2 hours away and she couldn't drive. For months, she didn't visit our son until her cousin drove her. I only realized how bad it had been once I started living alone with my son.
Wow.
I felt like a huge weight was off my shoulders. I felt peace. I decided to make the best of the change. Because of my son's autism, I got a care provider and an ABA therapist to help with his therapy at home. It was so much better that I can't even describe it. A few months later, my ex shifted tactics. She said she regretted her actions and wanted to be better for me and my son, but I wasn't having it. One time, she came with her luggage and tried to move in. I refused. and called the cops.
Oh,
She
wow.
tried gaslighting, crying, and everything to get her way again, but I told her to never come back. I even got the judge to deny her visitation after she tried forcing her way in. She then started love bombing me with texts. She even got her mom and aunt to help her, but since that was still tied to my old phone, I just disposed of it for a bit of cash. About a school year later, my son's care provider and I got really close. She was sweet, gentle, thoughtful, and positive. So different from my ex. But she was 11 years younger than me. Back then I was 30 and she was 19. In nursing school, I didn't make any advances. But one day while my son napped, she cooked me a meal and confessed she was attracted to me. She wanted to date me for real skis.
Wow. And the way to get to a man's heart.
I thought it wouldn't work since respite care providers aren't supposed to fraternize with clients and the age gap was an issue, but she said she would quit if needed. I told her I needed time to think. My divorce had shattered my desire to date, but I was very attracted to her. So I told her I'd like to do this slowly and properly. 4 years later, after she graduated and became a nurse, we tied the knot. I learned from my past mistakes and became a better husband thanks to her positivity. That wasn't hard. My son even calls her mom now. The first time he did, I knew I had to marry her. I also took the relationship very slowly to be careful. Strangely, I'm still close with my ex's cousins. They're old school, tough people, firefighters, military, and while they care for my ex, they respect me more. They even invite my family on vacations. Now, the part that still makes me angry. My ex. She found out about my wife years ago and confronted her at her nursing school. It terrified my wife, and I nearly got into a physical scrap with my ex, breaking it up. We filed more restraining orders, and now my ex is not allowed near my family, even our son. She can only video chat or have supervised visitation. After the divorce, she went back to work and lived alone. Over the years, she tried getting her cousins to convince me to help her, but they refused. Even her mom and aunt gave up on her. You'd think that it's like, you'd think that she'd be like, I need to help myself so that I can see my kid again. Instead of just being like, well, it's this guy's fault and he needs to let me. It's like, no, you got to do the work on yourself so that you can earn being in your son's life again. Our last talk, she asked what she could have done to get me back. I joked she'd have to join the military to learn discipline. She actually did, only to be removed for disciplinary reasons.
Yikes.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's, I
Crazy.
guess she's serious. Now she's passive aggressive on social media, posting about forgiveness and second chances and how modern women are all victims. And some people even believe her lies. By the way, you better believe it's no lie that you can listen to full episodes with stories like this wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. I don't care. Just use your thumbs and maybe even your voice. Search OK Storytime. My current wife tells me not to worry. She's kind and understanding, knowing my trust issues. We're planning on having our first child together, and I want to do things right this time. The moral of my story is this: there is always someone who will love and respect you more than your current spouse. Don't settle for anything less. I don't know if I like that moral, buddy. I mean, I think I get what he's trying to say, but he says, the moral of my story is there is always someone who will love and respect you more than your current spouse. Don't settle for anything less. Buddy, are you talking about your current spouse right now, too? Come on.
I have heard that.
Come on.
I have heard that saying of there's always a woman out there that'll make you happier.
That's only if you tell yourself that in your head. Look, if you're in a toxic relationship and someone's treating you like crap, facts. So there's always someone who will take better care of you. But it's like, I think it's really damaging to relationships and marriages now that we have social media and a global ability to just see anyone on earth at any time. And we can see them and be like, oh my God, that person's so great or looks so good or blah, 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 blah. And then, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be with the person I'm with now. I should be with someone else. I really struggled about making this post because my divorce is still a great source of anger at times. Not as much as it used to be, but it really triggers my negative brain. My therapist told me that it helps to write a journal, so here I am. Any advice, please?
Don't leave your current wife for someone else.
Here's what I'll say. Yeah, don't leave your current wife. I would say this. I don't think you need to remake a relationship with your ex-wife, but I think you should make it clear that what you want from your ex-wife is not so that she can get back with you, but that shows she can be present in her son's life.
In her son's life.
And that's
yeah.
all that you want. I just want you to
Yeah.
get to a place where you can actually be his mom.
And somewhat of a good mom. At the very least.
And then, and let her process that and either grow and change or remain kind of stagnant. But it sounds like she wants to,
Yeah.
And I think that would help with your anger.
Help with your anger and resentment towards her and, your kid too. Like,
Yeah.
he's going through some stuff. We don't really know what his thought process is on everything. It'd be nice for him to see his mom.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think your son probably knows that even though he's calling your now wife mom, that's not his mom. And the older he gets, the more acutely aware he's going to be of that. And so it would be best for him to have some level of relationship
Yeah.
that's not filtered through like supervision and like a FaceTime chat with his mom.
Yeah.
I think because I can't imagine not being so angry and resentful
Yeah.
with my ex if she was unable to even show up for our son.
She's more worried about that new Birkin bag than her son's speech therapy.